Andre, did you feed Alex Kessman his Wheaties on Saturday?
No, no. Sometimes you just have to, talk your way through a situation that you're not when you're not where you want to be. Everyone knows he's really talented, and he's kind of like Tiger Woods in a way. I mean, he's really talented, and he's not afraid to try to, do something to even get better. That's what winners do. They take chances to get better. And some of the things he was trying to do to improve himself, we had to go back and recalibrate.
Andre, as someone that helps him in those situations, what are the emotions like to see him come through and have that hard work pay off for him?
Well, obviously, he's a really competitive guy, and I'm sure his emotions are high. But unfortunately, I can't celebrate those moments for him because right after that, I got to deal with kickoff team. So I'm sure they were high. I saw him out there, just briefly, fist pumping and his celebration with Kirk and those guys. But as soon as that ball goes through, my attention turns to something else.
Andre, with Izzy obviously getting a handful of carries over the weekend. I know you mentioned pass blocking is always the thing with freshman running backs. How is he coming along in that area? And do you think that we'll see more of Izzy as the weeks kind of go on here?
Well, pass blocking is secondary to identifying who you actually have. That team we played has some rushes that I would say would border exotic. And when you get some of those situations, identifying who you have, and that's one thing, and then blocking them is another. He did better. He's playing with more confidence. And the more confidence he plays with, the better he feels about himself. We'll put him in the game more.
Andre, will you have similar issues identifying with a Tony Gibson defense?
Yeah, similar defenses, but different. They're a 3-down defense, but some of the blitz packages that NC State has are totally different than the blitz packages that we just faced. But we will have issues. They can bring them from that. That's one of the advantages of playing a defense. You can bring 4 from a side and look balanced. And so identifying who the line has and who we have is always an issue when you play a 30 team.
Yeah. This year you've had a couple different fullbacks. I know Brandon George has played a little bit, and last week you had Chris Maloney. What's it like grabbing a guy from defense and kind of working with him like on such short notice?
Well, we're just trying to find the right fit. That position is different. Those collisions those are high speed collisions. And, when you play defensive line and you're blocking the guy that's a foot from you, that's one thing. But those are like 30-mile-an-hour car crashes. And so those are different. And we're still trying to find the right fit, the guy that enjoys those. You got to have a guy that really enjoys 30-mile-an-hour car crashes. And that's not always easy to find. So we're still working through that situation.
I know Coach Partridge praised Maloney last season as a guy who's eventually going to play for Pitt. What made you decide to turn to him for your fullback situation?
We're looking for every big athletic guy that we think might enjoy doing that. And, for that position, I mean, it's not something that you can't be successful if blocking is something you tolerate. It's got to be something you really, really enjoy doing. And so again, that's a position that's a need for us, and that's something that we're still sorting through.
Andre, meant to ask Pat this yesterday, but AJ Davis obviously had to be helped off the field on Saturdays. Is he doing all right?
Yeah, he's making good progress.
Andre, do you have any more clarity as to roles with your backfield?
No, it's to the point now where early on to get guys in the game to handle packages that they really excelled in. Now it's just if you're in the game, you're in the game, and whatever play we call, you have to handle it. So that's the point where we're at now. And so it's just a matter of just keeping guys fresh. We've got enough guys. We should be able to have guys in the game that can play at a high level. If they get tired, we can sub in and still function. You know, when you call plays fast and you go without a huddle, it's hard to sub guys in. We want to get plays in so the defense can't sub. So obviously, when we sub, the defense can sub and slow down the tempo of the game. So if we call it, you're in the game, you got to execute it. That's where we are now.
Okay, talking to Pat last week about special teams, and you guys have a lot of starters out there, and he said, if you want to play in the NFL, you need to know how to do special teams. Do you kind of get that mentality from those guys, like DeMar wanting to be out there?
Some guys really, really, really want to be out there. They really enjoy special teams. That's always a tough sell. You talk to any special teams coach. It's always tough. We're playing a bunch of young guys as well, and guys that we think we can have for a couple of years, and particularly our cover units. That's where we have most of our veterans. And guys, we give them examples. We show them, phone calls from Quadri Olson and some of the guys that have played here in the past that are really, you look at them being on the NFL roster, how many offensive plays they played, how many defensive plays they played, and how many special teams plays they played. And really, they're making a good living covering kicks. And so just to get guys to just buy in and do those things are it's not always easy.
Andre, what do you remember about recruiting Vince Davis out of Cardinal Gibbons? What kind of player he was? What kind of player you guys thought you were getting?
Well, he was a guy that surprisingly has surprisingly functional strength. He's got really good balance. He's a guy that can extend plays, and that's one thing that's very critical for us. And he's tough. I mean, he's a tough guy. So all those things. I mean, that team he played on won a state championship, and he was the leader of that team. So he's got leadership qualities. I have to tell him every day, Vince, you do not coach Izzy. I coach Izzy. Because he's always coaching, and he's got a script at practice. I come in my office, he's got the other guys in my office watching video. I can't even get in my office half the time because he's in there watching tape with other guys. So he's got a lot of really good qualities. He's just going to get better and better as he goes.
Andre, how would you evaluate how Kirk has done this year?
Kirk's done really well. Kirk's done really well. He's really matured. And it takes time for those guys to mature, no different than a quarterback or an offensive lineman. When you get a young kid to come in to punt only, everyone thinks, well, he's just punting. He can just go out and do it. But there's a lot of things, mental preparation, physical preparation. And, he's been here for a number of years now, and he's playing like we thought he could play. This is the guy, when we recruited him, this is the guy that we saw in the future. So very pleased with how he's progressing.